Garbage dumped by the roadside, garbage overflowing from drains, garbage floating on our water bodies. These are common sights across India. Have you ever wondered where most of our waste goes? Well, 94% of our waste is untreated. It's not dealt with safely. It's either burnt or dumped at landfills like this one. Once one landfill is complete, a new landfill is sought. Most of the waste here at these landfills is not recycled, and you have hazardous waste lying right next to organic waste. I'm Manvi Dhillon, and you're watching DuPont Presents The Power of Shunya, Quest for Zero. And today we're asking, can science and technology be used to reverse this waste management crisis? And can waste actually be converted into a resource? And now Ravi Agarwal of Toxic Links helps us understand the magnitude of the waste management problem. I can't even begin to imagine how much waste India generates. This is just one small informal segregation site, and we can see what we can see. How much waste does India generate?
Well, there's a number of kinds of data, but let's say that we can generate about 190,000 tons per day, which comes to about 70 million tons per year. But this has become almost 8 to 10-fold in the last 10 years, so it was 10 times less. And in the next 10 years or 15 years, it will become 2.5 times more. So we are looking at, by the end of the decade, about 180 million tons of waste per year generated in India. It's a huge amount. And if you accumulate all that, we have to deal with about 1,000 million tons of waste the next 10 to 15 years.
What are the biggest challenges to effective waste management? Because when you're talking about quantities like that and no really clear, cohesive plan in place, it seems like a really tough job.
So it's a huge, huge amount we are talking about, and our municipalities and our infrastructure is just not capable of dealing with it. But we're not dealing it as a national mission. So, in a city, in a new urban setting, waste will become the biggest problem. Because it's not just what you see, it has so many impacts. It has impacts on your groundwater, on the toxicity of the food we eat. It has impacts on climate change, because if you burn it, you'll have carbon dioxide, you have methane coming out from landfills. So it has a huge, huge impact. But we're still dealing with it in its narrow, small ways. So that's a big mindset we need to go through in saying we're dealing with a really, really big problem here.
What is the role, to your mind, that science and technology can play in waste management? Our show is focusing on the science and technology aspect in solving our waste issues, but how big a role do you see science and tech playing?
I think it has a huge role because, all the solutions we look for are from Europe and from North America. These are not appropriate to our conditions or to the kind of waste we generate. There has been no parallel in the history of the world where a country like this has started creating so much waste in such a short time. We don't have to create basic science, but we need to innovate. We need to innovate solutions. And that's where the science and technology can play a huge role. Conversion of waste, processing of waste safely is another place where we can innovate. So we have to look back into ourselves and saying what is the appropriate innovation from them. And I'm telling you, we'll be world leaders. We'll export to all the developing countries, including to China, if we manage to do that.
India consumes 11 million tons of plastic every year, against a global consumption of 275 million tons. Plastic and polymer consumption is growing at an average rate of 10%. 99% of all plastics are made from petroleum byproducts and take about 1,000 years to decompose. It's safe to say we're sitting on a plastic time bomb. India generates 56 lakh tons of plastic waste every year. The big cities are the major culprits, with Delhi producing 690 tons of plastic waste every day. Chennai, 429 tons a day. Kolkata, 426 tons a day. Mumbai, 408 tons a day. Not only does the production of plastic impact our environment in terms of recyclability and biodegradability, but it also puts a strain on our already diminishing fossil fuel resources. If plastic waste dominates over land and water, then giving it stiff competition is this weed, water hyacinth, swiftly taking over our fresh water bodies.
It actually takes over the entire water surface, and it is very intelligent weed actually. It grabs all nutrient, utilize it very sustainably, and then grow in biomass quickly. So when you have biomass, it covers everything. When there is no light penetrating to the water, then you look at the quality of water. The quality of water goes so down, oxygen level dips, and therefore no aquatic animal. Even phytoplankton and other aquatic plants cannot survive.
But Professor Murugesan in Alvarkurichi, Tamil Nadu, has found a unique solution to both the problems. His years of research have helped him extract biopolymer from water hyacinth. The end product is biodegradable plastic.
I was working on water hyacinth for the past 3 decades. I worked on the utilization of this weed for depolluting contaminated water. Then I thought of doing something on the controlling this water hyacinth. I worked on the biological control using some weevils, and successfully I have demonstrated at field level. The next thing is I started working on the water hyacinth for polymer production 8 years earlier. Initially, I worked up to the conical flask level without any fermenter and other facilities. I was able to get the polymer in test tubes in milligrams. Now I came to the level that I am able to produce several grams of polymer in my lab itself.
Extraction of biopolymer from this weed is possibly the first step towards zero plastic waste.
So I processed the water hyacinth leaves, and they were cut into pieces, dried in shade for 3 days. So after 3 days, this was made into a powder. This is the powder of this water hyacinth. So I have to remove the lignin first.
Okay.
So for that, I use sodium hydroxide to delignify the material.
Okay.
Adding sodium hydroxide gives a liquid like this. So I have to filter this.
So that's the residue that you're now going to be treating further.
So this residue, now I dry it at 50 degrees centigrade overnight, and I got this powder again.
Okay.
So this now I have to make some acid hydrolysis. I am using hydrochloric acid. This is the filtrate.
And after a few more steps, the result is for all to see.
This PHP, this is the polyhydroxy butyrate. We have to add some copolymers and additives to get the required shapes. So we can use carry bags, shopping bags, razors, pens, like that you can use.
So you're motivated to make the use and throw items out of this biopolymer because those are the ones that leave a huge footprint on our planet. Can you get it from sources other than the water hyacinth?
In market, in other countries, they are making this polymer using rice flour, sorghum flour, sea maize flour. But we are interfering with the feedstock of the livestock or human beings. But these aquatic weeds or other agro waste we use, we are not competing with the feedstock of the human beings or other animals, etc.
By turning a weed like water hyacinth into a resource, Professor Murugesan is hopeful that the problem of plastic waste can be weeded out. To get a biopolymer out of the water hyacinth will help us achieve our aim of zero plastic waste.
Certainly, madam. Yes, now people now only they are thinking about alternatives for the already available market available plastics. So now these findings, when findings are going to the government or some entrepreneurs, definitely they are thinking about that.
Today, we've seen how science can take a weed and convert it into biodegradable plastic. After the break, we'll meet a scientist who's found a sustainable way to treat used water. DuPont presents The Power of Shunya, Quest for Zero. We'll be back in a moment.